Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into something that honestly might just turn your whole idea of success and skill upside down.
It's a really fascinating area.
We've gathered insights from, well, all over research, biographies, history, to tackle this big question. In a world screaming for specialization, could having a wider range actually be your biggest advantage?
It definitely pushes back against the grain, doesn't it? Especially when you think about the stories we usually tell, the prodigies.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's start with maybe the ultimate example, Tiger Woods. I mean, picture this.
Yeah.
2 years old, on national TV, hitting a golf ball past Bob Hope. The club's taller than him.
Yeah, it's iconic.
By 3, he's practicing hitting out of sand traps. His dad, Earl, had it all mapped out. Media training, the whole thing. He was the chosen one.
Right. The absolute poster child for starting early, focusing intensely. The 10,000-hour rule made flesh, basically.
Exactly. Hyper-specialization from the get-go. Now, okay, hold that thought. Let's flip to Roger Federer.
Ah, yeah. Very different story there.
Get this. His mom, a tennis coach, but she point-blank refused to coach him. Said he just upset me anyway with his weird strokes.
Ah, that's brilliant.
As a kid, he was into everything. Skiing, wrestling, swimming, skateboarding, basketball, handball, tennis, table tennis, badminton, soccer. I mean, the list goes on.
Seriously, his parents, they had no plan A, no plan B. They actually encouraged him to sample stuff.
They even nudged him to take tennis less seriously as a teenager.
Which sounds crazy now, right? He only really buckled down on tennis later, and he credits all those other sports for his athleticism, his hand-eye coordination.
It's wild, isn't it? How could these two totally opposite paths lead to such dominance?
That's the core question.
So for you, listening right now, this deep dive is going to unpack some, well, maybe surprising truths about how skills develop. We're challenging that idea that you have to specialize more and more.
We're exploring how maybe, just maybe, that range is your secret weapon.
So the Tiger Path, early, narrow focus, deliberate practice. It's often presented as the only way. We see it everywhere, not just sports.
Oh, yeah. Mozart at the keyboard as a toddler? Mark Zuckerberg coding in his dorm room? We love those stories of early genius.
There's this feeling that knowledge is exploding, so you have to pick a tiny niche, right? Like that joke about left-ear surgeons.
Ah, yeah. You have to check if they actually exist yet. But here's the fascinating part. That Roger path, the sampling period, it turns out that's actually way more common among people who eventually reach the elite level.
Really? More common than the Tiger Way.
Studies show it again and again. Eventual elites often spend less time early on doing that super specific practice in their main field. There was even one study titled Late Specialization, the Key to Success.
Wow.
You see it everywhere in sports. Think Tom Brady drafted into pro baseball before football?
I forgot about that.
Right? Or Nick Foles played everything, had to choose between college hoops and football. Then there's Esther Ledecka, first woman to win gold in 2 different sports, skiing and snowboarding, at the same Winter Olympics. She played tons of sports growing up, still plays beach volleyball, windsurfs.
She's like an evangelist for variety, wasn't she called?
Exactly. And Vasyl Lomachenko, the boxer, record-breaking champion, took 4 years off boxing as a kid to learn traditional Ukrainian dance.
Dance. Wow. Okay, so this range thing is more prevalent than we think at the top.
Much more. The tiger narrative is just maybe the one that's easier to tell.
This really hits home, I think, for a lot of people listening. I remember talking to these Tillman scholars, amazing people, ex-military translators, moving into totally new fields. And they were excited, but also worried. Their resumes weren't linear. They felt like that was a disadvantage.
That classic anxiety about the non-traditional path.
But maybe, as we'll explore, those inimitable life and leadership experiences, that zigzagging, maybe that's the actual advantage.
And it's not just about youth either. The average age for founders of the fastest growing startups, it's 45.
Right. So much for Zuckerberg saying young people are just smarter when he was 22. A little bit biased, perhaps.
Just a tad. This anxiety often comes from mixing up different learning environments. We can think of them as kind versus wicked.
Okay, kind versus wicked. Explain that.
Chess is the classic kind world. Think of the Polgar sisters. Their dad basically engineered them to be champions through intense early specialization.
Right, Laszlo Polgar's experiment.
In chess, the rules are clear, patterns repeat, you get instant feedback. Did your move work? Yes or no? Kasparov said chess is 99% tactics, pattern recognition, it's contained.
Okay, so that's a kind environment. Predictable. feedback is clear.
Exactly. Specialization works beautifully there, but then you bring in computers.
Ah, like Deep Blue beating Kasparov.
Right. The machines became tactically perfect. But Kasparov then came up with advanced chess human plus computer teams.
Okay.
The computer handled the tactics, the grunt work, the human focused on strategy, the big picture, and Kasparov found human creativity became more important, not less.
Interesting. So when the tactical stuff is handled, the human strategic thinking shines.
Precisely. It shows that as you move towards more open world, less defined problems, the human element adds more. Think about IBM's Watson, great at Jeopardy, but kind of flopped trying to cure cancer.
Because curing cancer isn't like Jeopardy where the answers already exist. It's messy, undefined.
Exactly. That brings us to wicked environments. Rules are unclear, maybe changing. Patterns are hard to spot. Feedback is delayed, ambiguous, or just plain wrong.
Okay, so like real life.
Pretty much. Think financial markets or even healthcare decisions. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman found that in these domains, experience builds confidence, sure, but not necessarily skill.
Ouch. So you think you're learning, but you might just be reinforcing bad habits.
That's the danger. It's called entrenchment. Think of that old story of the New York doctor who spread typhoid because his hands-on diagnosis method, while successful for him, was actually unsanitary. Or think about interventional cardiologists using stents for chest pain, even when research shows it's often inappropriate or dangerous for stable patients. It's their tool, their reflex.
So they keep using the hammer because everything looks like a nail, even when it isn't.
That's the essence of it. One study even found cardiac patients did better when the cardiologists were away at a conference.
Get out. That's disturbing.
It highlights the danger. In kind worlds, specialize. In wicked worlds, that same specialization can blind you. You need flexibility.
This cognitive entrenchment, it's a real trap then. You trade flexibility for that narrow skill.
Exactly. Experienced accountants sometimes do worse than novices on a new tax law because their old patterns get in the way. Bridge experts struggle if the rules change slightly.
So how do you fight it?
Well, the suggestion is often to vary the challenges within your field and, maybe more importantly, always keep one foot outside your world. Get that external perspective.
And that outside view, it isn't just defensive, right? It's where innovation comes from.
Absolutely. Think Steve Jobs and that calligraphy class. Seemed random, but it led to the Max fonts.
Yeah, a classic example.
Or Claude Shannon basically inventing the information age. He connected Boolean logic from a philosophy class to telephone switching circuits. His genius was seeing the link between two fields no one else knew both of.
It just happened that no one else was familiar with both those fields. That's powerful.
That's the circuit breaker skill. Successful career changers, people who pivot well, they often have broader training, keep multiple interests alive. They draw on outside analogies to break old patterns.
Okay, so range helps you adapt and innovate. Now, you mentioned something mind-bending before we recorded about how our actual thinking has changed.
Ah, right, the Flynn effect. It's fascinating. James Flynn found massive IQ score gains worldwide over decades, especially in abstract thinking.
So we're literally getting better at thinking abstractly.
Essentially, yeah. We're better at solving problems on the spot without a previously learned method. Like, ask someone today versus, say, their grandparents to compare dusk and dawn. The modern person is more likely to see the abstract similarity, both separate day from night, rather than just saying one's in the morning, one's at night.
Huh. That's subtle but significant.
It really is. Look at Alexander Luria's work in Soviet Central Asia decades ago. Remote villagers, their lives rooted in concrete experience. They struggled with abstract concepts.
How so?
You show them pictures. Hammer, saw, hatchet, log. Ask which doesn't belong. They couldn't see tools as a category separate from the log they're used with. They're useless without the log.
Wow. Hard to imagine now.
Or logic puzzles. All bears in the snowy far north are white. Novaya Zemlya is in the snowy far north. What color are the bears there? They'd say, how should I know? I haven't been there. They couldn't operate on the hypothetical premise alone.
Just couldn't make that abstract leap.
But farmers who'd had just a little exposure to modern work, they started using formal logic, getting curious, asking what-if questions. A fundamental shift.
Okay, so our capacity for abstract thought has grown enormously. But are we actually using it? Flynn worried education often pushes narrowness too early.
That was his concern. We gain this amazing tool, abstract reasoning, but then higher ed often funnels us into silos, not sharpening those broad tools of thinking. Students stroll to apply methods learned in one class to another field,
which is why some innovative classes, like that Calling Bullshit one at University of Washington, are so popular, teaching critical thinking across disciplines, Fermi problems.
Exactly. Teaching you how to make rough, intelligent estimates for huge questions. Skills that apply everywhere. That class filled up in a minute.
So fostering that broad, abstract, analogical thinking is key, like Kepler.
Kepler's a perfect example. He basically invented astrophysics through analogies. When he got stuck on planetary motion, he thought way outside the box, planets having souls, magnetic forces, light pressure, comparing the universe to a clockwork mechanism. He loved analogies.
He saw them as his most faithful masters.
And that's crucial for those ill-defined problems, the wicked ones. Think of Dunker's radiation problem, destroy a tumor without hurting healthy tissue.
Right, their rays are too strong individually.
People only solve it easily when given analogies. Generals attacking a fortress from multiple sides, firefighters using multiple hoses on a shed. We're not naturally good at pulling in those distant analogies. We tend to focus on the problem's surface details.
Which is often the wrong approach in a wicked world.
Precisely. You need the outside view. Ignore the surface, look for the deep structure. Good private equity investors do this. They use tons of analogies. Infrastructure projects. They go over budget constantly because managers focus on this project's details, not the historical class of similar projects.
So use a whole reference class of analogies, not just one.
That's way more accurate. And in science labs, the most creative breakthroughs, they happen in diverse teams making lots of different analogies when they hit unexpected results. Kepler's by committee, as Kevin Dunbar called it.
Diversity of thought leading to better analogies, better solutions. Okay, that makes sense. Let's shift gears a bit to the personal journey. Finding your path, finding your range.
Yeah, because it's not always clear from the start, is it? Think about Vincent van Gogh.
Right. Talk about a winding path, bookstore clerk, pastor.
Tried different art styles, abandoned things constantly. He learned who he was in practice, not in theory. He didn't even start art seriously until his late 20s. His lack of proper technique forced him to invent his own style.
He was a classic late bloomer in art. His story really underscores that value of just trying stuff.
Absolutely. And there's economic data supporting this. Offer Malamud compared UK students who specialize super early with Scottish students who get more general education first.
Okay, what did he find?
The British students made more mistakes. They switched careers more often later on. The conclusion. The benefit of finding a better match quality by exploring outweighs the lost specialized skills early on. Learning about yourself is valuable.
So that period of sampling isn't wasted time. It's crucial for finding the right fit, which also means quitting isn't necessarily failure.
Exactly. We're so conditioned against quitting. But Stephen Levitt's Freakonomics coin toss experiment. People on the fence about big changes, quitting a job, ending a relationship who did make the change, reported being happier later.
Huh. Interesting.
And Angela Duckworth's grit study at West Point. Grit predicted who got through the initial brutal training, beast barracks. But it didn't predict who finished West Point overall or stayed in the Army long term.
Wait, really? Grit wasn't the key factor long term?
Not the only one. It became a match-quality conundrum. The highest potential cadets, the ones with options, were more likely to leave if they realized the Army wasn't the right fit for them, even if they had the grit to succeed.
So for you listening, choosing a different path isn't weakness. It might be the smartest move once you know more about yourself and the path.
It's gaining self-knowledge. As Herminia Ibarra puts it, we learn who we are only by living and not before. You can't just introspect your way to the perfect career.
You have to first act and then think. Try things, build networks, see what resonates.
Right. You discover possibilities by doing. Think about Michelangelo. The myth is he saw the David fully formed in the marble.
Yeah, just had to chip away the excess.
The reality, he was a test-and-learn all-star, constantly changing his mind, altering plans, abandoning projects. Most of his sculptures were unfinished. He learned who he was by seeing what he did.
Wow, so even Michelangelo was experimenting, figuring it out as he went.
Exactly. And you see these stories everywhere. Chrissy Wellington didn't even sit on a proper road bike until 27, 2 years later. First of 4 Ironman world titles.
Incredible.
Or outsider artists. Lonnie Hawley started sculpting gravestones for family at 29, didn't even know what art was. Howard Finster started painting at 59 after seeing a face in spilled paint.
His quote was something like, "A person don't know what he can do unless he tries."
Trying things is the answer to find your talent. It just shows the head start isn't everything. Experimentation, even late in life, can lead to amazing things.
Which brings us to this idea of the outsider advantage, how seeing things from the fringe helps.
Yeah, Alf Bingham at Eli Lilly had this crazy idea. Post tough scientific problems online, see if anyone outside could solve them.
The internal scientists must have loved that.
They were skeptical. Nobody outside knows what we're doing, but solutions poured in. A lawyer solved a chemistry patent problem by thinking about tear gas.
A lawyer. Okay.
And the finding was the further the problem was from the solver's own expertise, the more likely they were to solve it.
That's completely counterintuitive. Less expertise helped.
Because they weren't blinkered by the standard approaches within that field. They brought fresh analogies. It's like the confectioner solving Napoleon's food preservation problem when scientists couldn't. Knowledge is a double-edged sword. It can also make you blind.
Like that amazing story of Jill Viles, the substitute teacher who diagnosed a rare genetic link using Google Images, helping herself and a pro athlete when doctors missed it. Pure outsider thinking.
Incredible example. Another master of this was Gunpei Yokoi at Nintendo, his philosophy. Lateral thinking with withered technology.
Withered technology, so old tech.
Exactly. He deliberately avoided the cutting edge. He took cheap, simple, even obsolete tech and found new uses. The love tester, just a simple circuit. The Lefty RX car, super basic radio control.
He wasn't chasing the latest specs.
Nope. His biggest hit, the Game Boy. It wasn't the most powerful handheld, not by a long shot. But it was portable, affordable, durable, and fun. It crushed technically superior rivals.
Because he prioritized the use, the experience, over the raw tech.
He fought functional fixedness, only seeing things for their usual purpose.
Right.
Interestingly, his biggest failure, the Virtual Boy, happened when he did chase cutting-edge experimental tech.
So he succeeded when he stuck to his withered technology principle. It's about clever combination, not just novelty.
Precisely. And this idea connects to the rise of the polymath. A study at 3M found the most successful inventors weren't just deep specialists. They were polymaths, people with depth in one area, but broad experience across many areas.
So, as information gets easier to access, maybe we need fewer hyper-specialists digging deeper, and more connectors, more Yokoi types linking things up.
That's the argument. And it plays out in forecasting, too. Philip Tetlock's huge study on expert predictions.
Oh yeah, the one where the famous experts were basically useless.
Worse than useless, some of them. Roughly as accurate as a dart-throwing chimpanzee was the infamous line. Fame was inversely correlated with accuracy.
Ouch. But he found some people were good forecasters, right? The super forecasters.
Yes. And crucially, they weren't narrow experts. They were bright people, yes, but with wide-ranging interests, diverse reading habits. They were extremely curious, actively seeking out different perspectives, even conflicting ones.
So breadth and curiosity beat deep specialization in predicting uncertain futures.
They even outperformed intelligence analysts who had access to classified information. Their reins was their edge.
Okay, but there's a dark side to clinging to specialization, isn't there? Sticking to your familiar tools even when they're wrong.
Absolutely. It can be disastrous in wicked situations. The Challenger disaster is a tragic example. NASA got so focused on quantitative data, they sidelined engineers' qualitative warnings because they could not make a quantitative case. The process became about defending the launch decision.
They were stuck in their standard procedure, their familiar tools of quantitative risk assessment.
Exactly. It's like those wildland firefighters who died because they wouldn't drop their heavy tools to run faster. The tools were part of their identity.
That refusal to drop your tools. It's a metaphor for being unable to unlearn or adapt when the situation changes dramatically.
Right, like the cardiologists who struggle to accept that stenting often doesn't work for stable patients because stenting is their tool, their identity. Abandoning it feels like an existential crisis.
So in ambiguous, fast-changing situations, the ability to jettison familiar but wrong tools is critical, even if it feels like abandoning who you are.
Which is why the best systems, the most adaptable people, often cultivate a bit of inefficiency. Playfulness, incongruence.
Incongruence, like things that don't quite fit the standard model.
Yeah, balancing standard practices with things that push against them. Think Oliver Smithies, Nobel laureate. In his 50s, takes a sabbatical just 2 floors away in his building to learn DNA work. Wins a Nobel in genetics at 90.
Wow, no standard career path there.
He had his Saturday morning experiments just tinkering, playing. Or Andre Geim, another Nobel winner. His Friday night experiments, deliberately messing around, grazing shallow, led to levitating frogs and discovering graphene with Scotch tape.
Limited sloppiness, he called it,
Mm.
just allowing for non-goal-oriented exploration.
Exactly. Not being afraid to dabble outside the main project.
It reminds me of what Arturo Casaval said about science being in crisis due to over-specialization.
Right. He worries that rushing young scientists into niches makes them unable to spot bad work, even their own. He argues we need to intentionally preserve range and inefficiency.
Because the big breakthroughs happen at the interface between fields. But who is there to defend the interface?
His own background fleeing Cuba, McDonald's worker, pest control degree, gave him that broad perspective to connect things.
So this drive for hyper-efficiency, for specialization, it can actually stifle the messy, inefficient process of real innovation. We need dabble time.
That's what Bill Gore, founder of Gore-Tex, believed. He fostered dabble time because he saw real communication happened informally, like in the carpool, and the best creative work often happened in a crisis when disciplinary walls came down.
So sometimes inefficiency, allowing for that meandering, is actually the most effective path to creativity. Okay, as we wrap this up, it feels like there's no single easy answer here.
Definitely not. There's no one sentence of advice for embracing range. It's a process, a journey, like Van Gogh's, like games experiments.
So first takeaway for you listening, don't feel behind. Don't compare your path to someone who seems to have a head start. Even Julius Caesar supposedly wept comparing himself to Alexander the Great.
Right, everyone's path is different, unfolds at its own pace. Your journey is unique.
And second, embrace experimentation. Treat your life, your projects, maybe a bit like Michelangelo treated that marble. Be willing to learn as you go, adjust, even abandon something if a better fit emerges.
Maybe plan your own Friday night or Saturday morning experiments, however small. Give yourself that space to dabble.
Yeah, I like that. And remember, your experience is never wasted. Even if you switch fields entirely, that knowledge, those ways of thinking, they come with you.
Diverse specialists are valuable, but they can't fully replace what broad individuals bring to the table, those connections, those analogies from afar.
So while specialization definitely has its place, particularly in those kind, predictable worlds,
Uh-huh.
the research seems pretty clear. Mental meandering, personal experimentation, these are incredibly potent sources of power. Head starts are often overrated.
As Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes said, it is an experiment, as all life is an experiment.
So the final thought we want to leave you with is this. What tools, what assumptions, what procedures, what identities might you be holding on to too tightly?
Tools that might actually be limiting your ability to adapt and innovate in this complex, wicked world we all navigate. How can you carve out a little more dabble time, cultivate a bit more productive and efficiency to foster your own unique range?